It is 9:50 and we are headed north on the intercoastal in North Carolina. And we have just hit a fog bank at 9:50 in the morning. I don't know what the visibility is, but I can see the markers up there. I can see a green marker. So what we did is we turned on the radar. Charleston this morning. It's a beautiful day. We're on the west side of the Charleston Peninsula, and there's these gorgeous old houses that are right on the water. We had a great time in Charleston. We spent a lot of time with Jody and Mike on No Agenda. We spent time with them in Savannah, and we spent time with them here in Charleston as well. We did a lot of sightseeing with them. It was just, we had so much fun. A great couple to tour with. So we have a 2-day trip. We're leaving this morning and we're going to anchor tonight in 5 Fathom Creek. And then tomorrow we are going to go to Georgetown. We're going to Harbor Walk Marina in Georgetown. So it's 2 basically 35-mile journeys each day. Way in the distance up there is Fort Sumter. We left our anchorage this morning at Duck Creek, and we are headed towards Georgetown, South Carolina. The river here, I don't know what river this is. The river here has a lot of current. We're on a outgoing tide, so there's a lot of current coming through, but it's very pretty here. We arrived in Georgetown, South Carolina, and stayed at a marina, the Harbor Walk Marina, that was in the heart of the historic downtown area. We were able to walk downtown through the downtown. We went to the Maritime Museum that you just saw, and there were lots of cute shops and restaurants. I really enjoyed this little town.
And we took a little trolley car ride to look at some historic houses.
This was the home of Mary Mann. Her father had left her Mansfield plantation, and so he left her a very wealthy young lady. Her father had the story's always been that she went to Charleston and she saw the Miles Bruton house, and so she came to Georgetown here to build herself a copy. Mansfield Plantation is now a bed and breakfast, and you can stay there, and it also is where they filmed parts of the movie The Patriot.
Yeah.
Hi.
I'll
So Mansfield, Mary Mann had the house, and sadly, I hate to even admit this, but the story's always been, she built this house to attract a very wealthy husband. So she lived here, and then her daughter lived here, and then her daughter lived here. And then it changed hands in 1876 into the Hazard Doyle family out of Newport, Rhode Island. They were in shipping, and they also were, famously, their most famous family relative was Commodore Matthew Perry, who opened up trade to Japan. So they came to Georgetown during the Reconstruction period for banking and for lumber. And they lived in this house until recently. It recently sold, and it went back not only to the owners of Mansfield Plantation, but they also are the family line of Mary Mann. So it's back in the family once again. Now we had a famous guest here. Her name was Theodosia Burr Austin. Her father was Aaron Burr, the vice president under Thomas Jefferson, the famous duel with Alexander Hamilton. So she ended up in South Carolina because she married into the Alston family, and they made their home where Brooklyn Gardens is today. The big statuary gardens over towards the beach. Well, she was by far the it girl of her time. She and her father had a very strong father-daughter relationship. She was very popular, but she was here in South Carolina and wanted to return to see her friends in New York. She'd been through a series of illnesses, and she just felt like she needed to go back to New York for a while. So she came to this house for a going-away party, December of 1820. The next morning, she boarded a schooner called Patriot and left from just over here to the right, and she, her French maid, and her crew were never seen again. No one knows what became of the vice president's daughter. All we know is that there was parts of a ship that were found broken up on the beach in Nags Head, North Carolina, and also a portrait of her. So it's believed either pirates or a storm came up. But you can see the house is being beautifully and meticulously restored back to the 18th century feeling. And Mary Perry Cleland home. The house itself, the front door once again faces the waterway. This is the back of the house. It originally had three sides of it were porches. It originally was a central hall with rooms on either side. Now, John and Mary Perry Cleland, interesting story here. She had been married before. She had been given a king's grant with she and her first husband. Sadly, he passed away, and she did not know that grant was taken away from her. So when she and her new husband, John, arrived in Georgetown, thinking they were going to be developing a rice plantation, the city of Georgetown was on it. It had been sold off, all the land, divided into lots by a man named Elisha Screven, and so she didn't have hardly any of her property remaining. She went into a lawsuit, and believe it or not, she won against the king, and a lot of her property was given back to her. This is still referenced in British law with title work issues in England today.
We left Georgetown, South Carolina this morning, and we are headed north. This is just glorious. It's a beautiful day, and the scenery has changed from into these wooded areas. It's just gorgeous. Georgetown was a very cute town, historic town. We took a trolley ride and found a history about the history of the town. It was a fun little ride, and we found a great bakery. I went this morning before we left and got some pastries and some breakfast items. So when I got back, we ate one of the croissants that was wonderful. It's called Indigo Bakery. So we definitely suggest that people go there. It was very good. We are at our anchorage on Enterprise Creek in South Carolina. We got here earlier this afternoon, and we're the only people at this anchorage. It is just gorgeous. I have the sun setting. We have trees on either side of us. It's a wide creek, and it's deep here. It's just beautiful. We are about to leave our anchorage at Enterprise Creek. I forgot to mention that this is right off of the Wakawachi River. So we are leaving this beautiful anchorage. It was a calm night with very little wind, and you can see there's very little tide right now, very little current. I'm sorry. I think we're at low tide. So we're going to head out here in just a minute. There is a section coming up called the Rock Pile,
that I'm a little concerned about. I don't know, Chris says I always have to be concerned about something. So I'm a little concerned about the rock pile. But we've got about 20 miles to go, so I won't start worrying for 15 more miles. So we're entering an area called the rock pile. It's a very narrow area, and they say there's rocks that that jut out pretty far into the close to the channel. Oh, I see it ahead of us. And we have seen a lot of logs in the water since we got in this general area. So we have that to contend with also. I just sent a message on the radio saying that we were entering the rock pile, because if we were to meet a barge coming, it's very narrow and there wouldn't be enough room for both of us. So they're pretty houses. Oh, there are rocks here. Now I see them. They're not on the port side, they're on the starboard side. So these rocks get really close to the channel. You okay? I know, I saw him. So the rocks are all there. Stay in the channel. Stay in the channel. They've got really close to the channel. So I think it's set to 15A, green 15A, which is this marker here. So there were rocks, I just didn't have the camera pointing the right way. But like I said, we stayed in the channel. I think 15A is, yeah, 15A I think is the end. It is 9:50 and we are headed north on the Intercoastal in North Carolina. And we have just hit a fog bank at 9:50 in the morning. I don't know what the visibility is, but I can see the markers up there. I can see a green marker. So what we did is we turned on the radar. So Chris is watching the radar. And the fog, both, because we also are watching for crab pots.
And we don't see anything. You can see this chat, you know, our route going through this channel. You see the radar is picking up the channel, the little islands.
Yeah, the little islands are out there.
They're showing up, but there's nothing in the channel here, boat coming down, that we would not be able to see till it's too late to turn.
We got an early start this morning. We are pulled anchor at 7 a.m., which is very early for us. Around that little bend there is where we anchored last night. It was a very, very nice anchorage. Trees all on one side and kind of marshland on the other. And out that way is the Atlantic.
We're getting ready to go into the Morning Star Marina Southport in Southport, North Carolina. So the procedures that we do are we call the marina or we hail them on the radio. You hail on 16, channel 16, and then they ask you to go to a different channel. So you change over to 68, I think in this case, and you tell them, you know, that you have reservations and you're on your way in, and they send somebody out. They tell you what to do. They give you the procedure they want. This particular time, they sent somebody out onto the fuel dock and pointed to where he wanted us to go, and we follow the directions.
Yeah, so we're here turning off the, disengaging the autopilot and stopping the route, because as soon as you get to your end destination, it starts beeping at you. And then this is the fuel dock right ahead, where we're turning off the channel into the marina and going along the fuel dock And it was kind of a convoluted thing. We came in, we made a left-hand 90-degree turn off the channel. We made a right-hand 90-degree turn into the basin of the marina, and then we made a 90-degree turn here at the end of the fuel dock, and then we made a 90-degree turn to the right again to go down our road that we were going to be on, and then another 90-degree turn to the left to go into the slip. So it was that's why I filmed it, because I knew it was going to be kind of a little ordeal to work our way back into the marina where our spot was going to be. It wasn't really narrow, but it was a lot of turns, and I'm sort of using the wheel a little bit, but mostly, you know, I drove it the whole way in with just the shifters. So we're turning around here at the end of the fuel dock, and Laura's up at the front and she's watching. My fear is that I'm going to scratch somebody's boat with the anchor, or rip the dinghy off with on somebody else's anchor as we turn back and forth. But so we're very careful, and you can see we go very, very slow. You don't want the boat to build up any momentum that you have to overcome to make it harder to stop, or to make it harder to turn in a direction the boat is not already going in. And Laura goes back to the back to look at the back as I turn.
And I'm carrying the handheld radio with me in case they hail us on the radio again to tell us anything else. But we were close here, so they could have just, talked to me.
Yeah, and then we're wearing our headsets because I'm inside the bridge and she's outside, so and usually if they're talking to her close, I can hear them through her microphone. So we're turning down our little road that we're going to be on, and we're going to go down another 20 yards here and make another left-hand turn. And Laura's
I'm going back and forth. I'm checking the bow. I'm checking the stern with the dinghy to make sure we're not too close to anything.
I can't see the dinghy in the back. It's below the surface, the level I'm on, so I can't see it. But I can see the front pretty good. And here's us turning into the slip. And I'm not sure why I'm leaning. I guess it makes me think
You're helping the boat.
Get turned.
Like a motorcycle.
Yeah. So and then as we turn in, I try to get the corner that now Laura's looking to the back, so the boat's behind us. I don't hit with the dinghy, and she tells me, no, that looks good. So then she goes back up, and she gets her blue rope that she's going to throw to the dock hand out here, and I try to get the boat over close so she have to throw it far, which she did. He's got it. So now I straighten back up and continue into the slip. I can't tell how far forward they want me, because I don't want the anchor to be sticking over the dock down there where people are walking by. But we have a ladder that comes off the left side of the boat, the port side, and they're looking over now and trying to decide, and she's throwing the bow line, and then I'm moving forward and back in the slip to try to get a good spot for the ladder to land, because I don't want it to land on a cleat or on the hose, or this particular one it wasn't a problem, but you don't want it to end where the electrical pole is or the water pole is. So they're at this point they're telling me, oh, come up a foot, or they're pulling me up a foot or pulling me back a foot as I get ready to turn the power off and turn the engines off, which I just did, and Laura took her headset off. And this is the marina there at Morningstar. It was a very nice marina.
It was a very nice marina. They had good facilities. The people were very nice.
And Miracle looked good there.
We spent some time with the Creeches. They live here in Southport, and they did the loop in 2008, 2009. And Mr. Creech came to the marina and welcomed us to Southport. And he invited us to come over to his front porch for cocktails. So we and Jody and Mike from No Agenda went and spent a little time with them.
Did you talk to Mrs. Creech before?
Oh, I did. I did contact Mrs. Creech as we knew we were coming here because I needed a hair appointment, and I asked her for some suggestions. So I was very happy to get the suggestions from her, and I went and had a great haircut the next day.
They were very nice. Very nice. We heard some great stories and heard about their life there in Southport and some of the history, and it was a nice evening. This is one of a very beautiful corner in Wilmington, North Carolina, with this yellow house over here and this big blue mansion, which is a museum now. And these streets with the trees, and then this beautiful church. Huge steeple. And then this mountain in the middle of the intersection, which is flashing us all the way over here. It's gorgeous. The trees are beautiful. And then look at this apartment building. Magnificent.
The White House we saw on the corner was the Bellamy House and was a museum. So we decided to take a tour. Here's the wrought iron fence, which just beautiful work on that. It's a 5-story home, and it has, it's very pretty inside.
Yeah, and it has a carriage house that's a
gift shop now.
And it also had the urban slave quarters.
The next day we left Southport and headed north to go to the Carolina Beach State Park. We had a great time in Georgetown and Southport, and were able to rent a car and drive to Wilmington and tour that a little bit as well. So join us next week as we head north to Beaufort, North Carolina, and further on. If you haven't already, please subscribe and let your friends know about us as well. We enjoy reading your comments, and we try to answer all of them. So if you have any questions you have for us, any comments that you have, we would love to hear from you. Please stay tuned for Chris's next episode of Views from the Shower Window.
Okay, here's episode 2 of View from the Shower Window. This is Duck Creek. We're about 13 miles southwest of Beaufort, not Beaufort, of Georgetown, South Carolina. All these places are starting to run together. And there's nothing around. There's No Agenda over there to the right. But even the other side of both, there's no houses or anything around.